with each other, so the firearm just continues to fire with one press of the trigger, taking it from a semi-automatic firearm where one round is fired with each press of the trigger to being a weapon that's capable of 1,200 rounds per minute. And we have some examples here. The FBI is kind of known for using the Thompson submachine gun historically. We have a video of a Thompson submachine gun and what's that like when it fires. That shoots about 600 rounds per minute. So yeah, that's a Thompson submachine gun, again, a fully automatic submachine gun designed to shoot fully automatic fire, which is only capable of about 600 rounds per minute. And here we have a firearms test of a Glock that has been modified with one of these switches that was recovered by the FBI off the streets. That's it. Any questions on the operations of the firearm? Thank you.
There's a total of how many arms? The question of how many arms? The total of how many?
In this operation, there were
21.
Yeah.
21 firearms. Can they buy these modifications online?
Yeah, so they're sold. You can acquire them legally if you have the proper licenses. Generally, they're acquired off the black market or sold on various online platforms, usually being sourced out of different countries as all kinds of different items, and you're starting to see a lot of them 3D printed as well. First name is Peter, common spelling P-E-T-E-R. Last name is Ganzert, G-A-N-Z-E-R-T.
Thank you for that demonstration. So in conclusion, the men and women of South Florida law enforcement agencies are hard at work addressing violent crime. The success of Operation Viper is directly linked to our previous level of cooperation and joint operations. We'll continue to crush violent crime throughout South Florida. It's one of our top priorities, and it's the right thing to do for the people that we serve. The last thing I would say is I would encourage anyone who may have information on violent crime or violent gangs to come forward and report it. That information is vital to our ability to keep South Florida safe.
Welcome into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer. Thanks for joining us here on Fox Local and on YouTube. We are joining this news conference live right now in Miami as the FBI and some other local law enforcement agencies talk about Operation Viper. They said that resulted in a number of arrests of who they call the most violent offenders in South Florida. Let's go ahead and continue to listen in as this news conference continues with some local law enforcement agencies now speaking.
Outstanding operation. This level of coordination does not happen by accident. It's built on trust, shared commitment, and years of working side by side to keep all of our communities very safe. Operation Viper is a powerful example of what we can do to accomplish when agencies come together. We unite as one for a common goal: reducing violent crime and improving the overall public safety of all of our cities. Our Gang Intelligence Unit, our Special Investigations Division, worked shoulder to shoulder with the FBI agents and with our partners for seamless and targeted efforts, which you see today yielded outstanding results. Whether it was supporting Miami PD with the apprehension of international robbery suspects, responding to in-progress burglaries, or executing strategic takedowns of known hotspots, this was a precise policing example at its very best. Over the course of just 3 days, this operation led to 16 arrests in my city alone, including individuals wanted for armed robbery, burglary, grand theft, drug trafficking, and firearms-related offenses. Guns, narcotics, and dangerous criminals were taken off the streets right before our very busy Memorial weekend. One case involved suspects on an FBI national alert. Romanian nationals engaged in fraud and forgery in our city, successfully targeted and taken into custody thanks to this real-time collaboration. I also want to take a moment to highlight the FBI's critical role during an entirely unrelated incident that occurred in my city at Stranahan High School on May 21st. Because the FBI was already in our city supporting Operation Viper, They were able to respond immediately, deploying dozens of agents alongside our officers for what appeared to be an active shooter at a high school. These agents, our patrol officers, school resource officers, specialty units, detectives, and support personnel all responded with courage and precision, all together in a very coordinated effort. I witnessed firsthand how officers from multiple agencies all moved towards a threat without hesitation, putting training into action and a mission above self, and certainly came out as a one unified team, even though we don't work together on a daily basis. We saw exactly what training was for: clear communication, coordinated leadership, and a unified focus under extreme pressure. While the incident was ultimately determined to be a false swatting call, initial reports suggested a credible threat, and the response matched the level of seriousness and professionalism. I cannot thank the FBI enough for that day. To the community, this is what your public safety agencies are doing behind the scenes. Every day, we are working together aggressively and intelligently to keep you all safe. Whether it's tackling long-standing crime issues, high-impact areas of crime, or responding fast-moving to high-stakes cases. This level of commitment you can expect from all of us that you see here today. Operation Viper shows the possibility of when agencies come together as one team. I'm proud of our Fort Lauderdale Police Department. I'm grateful for the FBI, and I'm grateful for all the agencies you see behind us. We're not just reacting to crime, we're anticipating crime. We're disrupting it, and we're holding those who commit it responsible. Thank you. And now I believe Chief Miami's going.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chief Manny Morales, Miami PD. And listen, I think Chief Schultz encapsulated the message very nicely, so I'll just keep my comments brief. First, thank you for the FBI and to our partner agencies. This is what collaboration looks like in the streets of South Florida. There is nothing we cannot accomplish when we work together. And I'm not just talking about the agencies you see before you. I'm talking about the community as well. When we have the support of our community, it is amazing how safe we can make our streets. And this despicable organization that started in the streets of Little Haiti and eventually grew bold enough to infect on a large scale became a criminal enterprise. And I am so grateful for the effort of the investigators and all the folks that work behind the scenes. But a quick message to our community. You might not see us all the time, but we are hard at work to make sure that every child in every neighborhood, not only Miami, but across South Florida, is able to go outside safely and play in their own front yard. And to the criminals out there, look at what happened here today. We are unstoppable. If you're even thinking about committing a crime, we will identify you, we will find you, and we will put you in jail. Thank you. And Deputy Chief Nargiso is going to follow us for Miami Gardens.
Good afternoon. Assistant Chief Joe Nargiso, NARGISO, Miami Gardens Police Department. On behalf of Chief Delma Noel Pratt and Miami Gardens Police Department, we want to thank the FBI, the Miami Field Office, and our local agencies for the partnership that we have. The collaboration led to 2 noble arrests of documented gang members that were homicide suspects. We greatly appreciate the hard work that our officers and detectives do every day for our city and our residents to keep them safe. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Eric Garcia, ERIC, GAR, CIA with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, Assistant Sheriff. On behalf of Sheriff Rosie Cordero Stutz, I would like to say thank you to the Miami Field Office of the FBI for their leadership, their collaboration, and their resources. The partnership with the Miami-Dade
Continuing to hear from local law enforcement agencies in South Florida, talking about the results of Operation Viper being released and discussed in this news conference right now, live in Miami. You also saw on the right there protesters removed from inside the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol building. They were there protesting some changes to health care, I believe, from the Big Beautiful Bill, so-called. We are also monitoring, you see the live picture of the Space Coast, anticipating a launch in the next hour or so of a couple dozen more Starlink satellites. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon live on Fox Local and on YouTube. It is time now for our Tampa Connection, and for that we go to Fox 13 Tampa Bay and news anchor Linda Hurtado. And Linda, good to see you. And Linda, good to see you. And Linda.
Governor DeSantis was in Governor DeSantis was in Governor DeSantis was in Governor DeSantis was in Governor.
We are clearly having some audio issues there. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. So let's see if we can go ahead and get that. 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 All right, Linda, I'm going to have to interrupt you there. We're having a lot of audio issues. It's just repeating the same thing over and over, getting a bit of an echo effect there. So we're going to go ahead and try to get that fixed here. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and listen into this debate going on in the U.S. House from just a little bit ago, where several Florida members of Congress were debating and talking about this military construction and VA funding bill. So let's go ahead and listen in. You're going to hear from several Congress members from Florida, including Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Maxwell Frost, and also both of them are Democrats. You'll also hear from Republican Brian Mast.
Mr. Chairman, I yield 1 minute to the gentleman from Florida, my colleague and friend, Mr. Frost.
Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, the theme for congressional Republicans this Congress is putting corporations over people. And that's exactly what they're doing in this bill. Instead of focusing on supporting our veterans, they've added one of the most reckless giveaways to the gun lobby that we've ever seen, gutting the National Instant Criminal Background Check system, the very system that keeps guns out of the hands of abusers, felons, and people who might be a danger to themselves and others. Republicans want to ensure that even if the VA determines that a veteran has a mental health condition to the point where they can't cash their own check, the check has to be given to a family member because they're going through a crisis. Congressional Republicans want that person to be able to go to a gun store and buy a weapon. Most veteran suicides involve firearms. This will deeply worsen the veteran suicide crisis. This does not protect veterans' rights. This protects the gun lobby profits over the lives of our veterans. If you vote for this, you are voting for veterans to die. Don't let them tell you this bill is about liberty and freedom, because there's no...
I yield the gentleman an additional 30 seconds.
Gentleman's recognized.
Don't let anyone tell you this bill is about liberty and freedom, because there is no liberty in a coffin and there is no freedom in a funeral. Veterans will die if this passes, and anyone who votes for it should be ashamed of themselves. I yield back.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentlewoman from Florida is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I have no additional speakers in general debate, so I'm prepared to close. Mr. Chairman, I want to further add some information, because the Veterans Crisis Line was referenced by the gentleman from Missouri. I want to make it very clear that the Secretary of the VA actually did a YouTube video specifically denying firing anyone from the Veterans Crisis Line, when in reality he fired 24 people who worked on the Veterans Crisis Line. If there was any improvement to the Veterans Crisis Line in this bill, it is thanks to my colleagues on the Appropriations Committee, Ms. Dean, who was successful in passing an amendment that added $5 million to funding for the Veterans Crisis Line, and for Ms. Underwood, who actually added an amendment that prohibits any further cuts from the Veterans Crisis Line. We're certainly appreciative of the bipartisan support of that, but I want to make it clear that we need to remain united in fighting cuts to the Veterans Crisis Line and ensure that veterans have everything they need and a safety net firmly in place. But with all the issues raised during this debate, Mr. Chairman, from the blatant push towards privatization of VA medical care to the underfunding of infrastructure and climate resiliency projects and the harmful poison pill riders, I just cannot, in good conscience, support this bill. It breaks my heart, because we do have such a good working relationship across the aisle with Chairman Carter and myself, and look forward to working together to improve this bill. I know it's possible as we move forward, and I'm hopeful, but I urge my colleagues at this point to vote against it, and I yield back the balance of my time. Mr. Chairman, I rise in support of this amendment. This amendment contains non-controversial amendments that raise awareness on programs that we all care about. That includes the need to address a variety of medical care issues at the VA, the need to build more child care development centers, construct more state extended care facilities, expediting claims processing, and many others. I encourage my colleagues to support this amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time. And I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman from Florida reserves.
I rise in opposition to this amendment. This en bloc contains 8 amendments that will make this bill worse than it already is. It includes a funding cut to the Veterans Benefits Administration, further exacerbating the backlogs in processing disability compensation claims, leading to long waits for veterans. The Republican Milcom VA bill already cuts the NATO Security and Investment Program by $188 million. This amendment would further cut it by another $4.1 million. It's shocking that my Republican colleagues would condone this, especially while they're offering amendments encouraging the speedier processing of claims and lamenting the delays in countless Republican speeches. And NATO infrastructure investment receives robust funding from our NATO partners, but there's an illegal Russian war going on, so it would seem that we need more investment in NATO infrastructure now more than ever, and yet this amendment would further cut into it. The amendment also seeks to continue the Republican push to privatize VA medical care. The bill already includes a 67% increase to medical community care, which is an increase without justification or rationale. We received no backup information from the administration whatsoever as to why they proposed this or it's necessary, because it isn't. It's a simple additional attempt to march the VA towards privatization and get away from what we know veterans want. The amendment promotes untested and dangerous medical treatment for our veterans. It makes a bad bill even worse. I encourage my colleagues to oppose this amendment, and I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentlewoman reserves. The gentleman from Texas is recognized.
I move the adoption of this amendment in Bonk. And
the story that I'd tell in advance of this is simply this. I woke up in Walter Reed, not too far from here, a number of years ago. And when I woke up in Walter Reed, I was missing 2 legs and a finger, and I had been out of consciousness for a week plus. And what I woke up to was being on a laundry list of medications. I had an epidural. I had oral morphines and oxys. I had antidepressants, anti-inflammatories, heavy sleep sedatives. I had a Dilaudid drip and a number of other things that I can't even remember to this point, all at once. I'd never been on any of these things before in my life. And I immediately, as soon as I woke up, I started to wean myself off of these drugs because I was saying to myself, you know, I might be very uncomfortable, but I don't want to be dependent on sleep sedatives. I might be in a lot of pain, but let's start taking off this painkiller and this painkiller and this painkiller, and I'm not depressed, so take this antidepressant away. These narcotics were beyond painful to come off of. I was down to the lowest amount after about 6 months of the last narcotic. It was an oral morphine, and going from the lowest amount twice a day, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. to nothing. I spent the next several months miserable, you know, all the gamut of withdrawal symptoms, irritability to say the least, food going through me, up all night, you name it. And that was just after 6 months. The state that these narcotics in many cases leave our veterans in are, at the most extreme end of it, states of suicide. At other ends of it, just extreme states of dissatisfaction and lacking purpose in life. And in some cases, it does leave them in a better condition. But the point I'm making with this true story is that veterans need to have options outside of these narcotics. And in many states, there are legal cannabis medical programs. And they need to have the ability, when they're being seen by their primary care physician inside of the VA, to have discussions about whether cannabis is or is not right for them because they have access to it in their state. They need to be able to talk to their provider, their medical provider, about what they fill out on the paperwork, what is the right dosage amount, how that's going to interact with any other medications that they might be on, how it might affect their blood pressure or other things going on with them personally. And if we're not giving that option to have that conversation at the most serious level without worrying about some kind of reprisal for the doctor or otherwise, then we are doing our veterans a disservice in certainly at minimum all of these states where there are legal cannabis programs. I am not a doctor. I would not purport to know when this is a good treatment for somebody or when it is not, or the amounts that they should take. But I know that as long as it is available in these various states, their doctors need to have the opportunity to discuss that treatment with them. Because the fact of the matter is, while I have heard of many of my brothers and sisters in arms being in a state of suicide because of the narcotics they've been on, I've yet to hear about any of them attributing a state of suicide to the cannabis that they have had as a part of their life. And in that, again, I would ask for support on Mast Amendment number 84. I thank you for hearing me out, and I don't know if I'm supposed to yield back to you, Mr. Joyce, or how we did this. I reserve our time.
That was the debate on the House floor earlier this afternoon. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer, and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. Now it is time for our Tampa Connection, and so we are going to go and check in with Linda in the Fox 13 newsroom. And Linda, we appreciate you sticking with us here this afternoon.
Of course. Let's try this again. So Governor Ron DeSantis in Tampa today to sign a couple of bills dealing with mental health and substance abuse. He held a news conference this morning at the USF Health Morsani College of Medicine. And one bill that he signed is Senate Bill 1620, which implements several recommendations made by Florida's Commission on Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder. DeSantis spoke Wednesday about the need for improved mental health services, including awareness and access.
But I think that this is the product of people really looking and trying to see what goes on in this space, and not only just in Florida, but looking around the country to see what's worked or not worked, and then offering recommendations about how we can do a better job. And so you're going to see a lot of things, I think, that'll be very, very positive.
So the governor also signed Senate Bill 168, which is named for Tristan Murphy. He suffered from schizophrenia and was in prison on a felony littering charge when he died by suicide on work detail back in 2021. Florida Senate President Ben Albritton spoke during this morning's news conference and became emotional when talking directly to Murphy's family, who were present for this bill signing.
I am better today knowing you. Thank you for your tireless efforts to make a difference in a very hard space. If Tristan was here, I believe he'd be proud of the work that the two of you have done.
All right, one more note on the new laws. The Florida Mental Health Institute, which is located on USF's main campus, will now be named the state after State Senator Darrell Roussan, who has been open about his past struggles with substance abuse. He thanked fellow lawmakers and the governor today for their work on improving mental health services in Florida. Garrett, you're probably familiar with some really amazing rescues that have been taking place from Israel to the state of Florida, involving a nonprofit group based here in Tampa, and of course the governor and some other resources. Well, we talked to a University of Tampa graduate who was rescued as part of this. She went to UT and is among those who returned home last night. So several flights carrying evacuees landed at Tampa International Airport in recent days, and one flight that landed Tuesday morning carried 160 passengers, including 22-year-old Abby Gurvich, who was volunteering in Tel Aviv with an ambulance group for about 5 weeks. As airstrikes intensified during the conflict with Iran, she had to shelter underground. Missiles landed 5 minutes from her apartment. You can imagine how scared her parents were. They say they lost sleep for days trying to get their daughter out of Israel. Let's listen into them.
Case closed. And, you know, we don't know what to do. And we tirelessly, every single day, we
called, you know, our congressman, you know, Byron Donalds, we called Rick Scott, we called Governor DeSantis. We, you know, as parents, you know, we felt like we were failing her, you know, that she was stuck there.
Well, as her parents now celebrate her homecoming, Abby says she had to get to the airport quickly or she wouldn't have made it onto that rescue flight.
I was literally the last one to show up. I found out that I was on this plane as I was sitting in the bomb shelter, hearing huge booms and everything, and then they were like, you need to go pack your bags, and I'm like, I will do that right when I get out of the shelter. This was obviously very different because it was hundreds and hundreds of missiles, so obviously the Iron Dome can't stop everything. Flights were canceled. I tried to get on a boat to Cyprus, couldn't get on that, and so through different things, luckily my parents found Gray Bull Rescue, and they were able to help accommodate me as well as hundreds of other people.
Really amazing things this nonprofit is doing. State officials say about 2,000 Americans have been rescued so far, and another 5,000 remain in the database looking for help, hoping to come home. Governor DeSantis says this is the most logistically challenging operation the Florida Department of Emergency Management has ever carried out. You can imagine how dangerous it is. More people leaving the Bay Area. Switching gears a little bit here, we've seen a lot of recent growth in the Tampa Bay area, but it appears more people are moving out. A study done by popular moving and storage company Pods ranked Tampa at number 16 on the list of the top 20 cities people are leaving in 2025. Big shift for the region. Not so long ago was ranked near the top for people moving in. Pod says people are still moving to Florida, but it's no longer the hot spot that it once was, no pun intended. Why are many people choosing to leave? Well, the study cites, quote, soaring prices, traffic, and the increasing risk from hurricanes. Fox 13 spoke with the owner of a local moving company about the trends that she's noticing.
Leaving the beach area is what we're noticing a lot of this year, more so than past moving seasons. Especially around this time. We always get a lot more out-of-state moves around this time because school's out, but this year is almost double.
So Bay Area realtors have noticed the trend too, saying there's a lot of inventory for potential home buyers right now. And as for the cities people are moving to in 2025, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina ranks number 1. Ocala, Florida ranks number 2 for the second year in a row. And the only other Florida city in the top 20 for move-ins, Jacksonville at number 10. Have mixed feelings about that. The Tampa area is a wonderful place to live, but the traffic was getting bad, or is still bad. So.
Right, no doubt about that. And still a hot spot, just maybe not a hot spot.
A hot place to move to, you're right.
Yep, no doubt about that. Linda Hurtado, we appreciate you joining us for our Tampa Connection. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. Here is a live look from Port Canaveral from our Launch Credit Union camera there in Brevard County, where port leaders are moving ahead with reconfiguration and an expansion project as well, specifically with Cruise Terminal 5. It's going to allow that terminal to handle larger ships that will be coming into the port. We know the Port Authority investing $500 million in several projects over the next 5 years. The board held a meeting earlier today, and afterward we were able to catch up with Captain John Murray, the CEO and port director of the Canaveral Port Authority.
The guest waiting area is not as much of an issue because guests come in and
The guest waiting area is not as much of an issue because guests come in and they go straight to the vessels these days, and the traffic flows with Customs Border Protection and facial recognition. People get out of here right away. The ship gets down to a zero count with CVP, and then they can start embarking right away. So we don't have the need like we used to for a big terminal for people to sit and wait to board the ship because they get on very quickly. But when they get off the ship, they have to go through Customs and Border Protection. In the area in the terminal now, it's way too small for that. Same with luggage. There's more people, more luggage, more laydown area. It's just not big enough for the 5,000 passenger size vessel to handle the luggage, the CBP. So all of those areas are being reconfigured, mostly on the debark side. And then on the embark side, we're going to rearrange the embarkation security lanes. Also going to expand the luggage security because all luggage goes through a scanning process before going on the ship. So we're expanding that as well. So it's just basically making it bigger to accommodate more. It's not unlike, I keep using the example of an airport where you've got a 737 at the gate. You can't put a big airplane like a 747 there. It's just not enough space to get people on and off. You have to have a different terminal. So same thing.
I think it was back in May you all put out a release talking about $500 million and I think capital improvements here at the port over
Yes.
the next, was it 5 years?
It's over 5 years. And to be honest with you, we always have about that much in projects, but I think over the next couple of years you're going to see that number go up with some of the projects we have. Cruise Terminal 4 is not in that project number, and that there's other things here that just haven't even been calculated into the plan yet. But we think it's important that people know what we're investing here in the port. You know, we survive on our what we kill, basically. You know, when the revenue we generate, we put it right back into the port. So it's very, very important for people to know what we're spending our money on. And that's really the intent of that press release when we put it out, is just to share with the community, the public in general, that we're investing in our own existence.
I want to ask you a little bit about, you have a little change. Okay. A little ask about CT4, and that is obviously you're making the expansion at CT5, but you still need a new.
We still need a new terminal. We recognize that, and you know we have very close partnerships with the cruise lines. So we work with them on what long-term deployments are going to be out into the 30s. So to do that, they have to know they've got a home somewhere, and you know we obviously have to provide that home. So it's a matter of working very closely with our partners to come up with long-term deployment options for them, and knowing they have a home port at Port Canaveral.
Where will that cruise terminal be for?
It'll be on the south side where the Blue Points building is today. We have to do some marina consolidation. The whole west side of the port has got a lot of smaller businesses, some which probably don't belong in the port. And what we've been doing is leases expire out there. We're not renewing anything long-term. They're all short-term, one-year leases, so that as we get closer to building 4 and designing 4, we have a lot more options. It's not just the Blue Points footprint that we're going to work with. There's other areas over there that we can work with. Another big driver for us is the traffic flow. And you know, we have 2 large terminals already in the south side of the ports, and we have 2 6,000 passenger ships in. There's a lot of traffic, and everything has to go right. Most of the time it does, to keep the traffic moving in and out. You add another terminal, now we've got a third 6,000-7,000 passenger ship. A lot more people, a lot more cars. So we need to look at the entire traffic flow for the south side of the port to make sure, or to find ways to be more efficient and not put everybody else that's coming in on the same road system. So we're looking at how we can reinvent our roadway network in the south side. So we've done a high-level study already. We're going to do a very in-depth study going forward. But coming back to my original point, having all those short-term leases allow us to create configurations that we wouldn't be creating if we were just dealing with the Blue Points footprint. So a lot of flexibility there.
I want to ask you a little bit about passenger counts and port revenue, even looking at, you know, May of this year versus May of 24. Can you give us an idea of what you all are seeing in terms of the passenger counts and the revenue?
Passenger counts are strong. They've been strong. And, you know, as we bring newer ships in, like the Star of the Seas is coming, that's a 7,500 passenger ship replacing a 6,500 passenger ship. So they're bigger, there's more people, and the cruise lines have been very, very successful in the products that they've been offering, and especially on the short seas to their private islands. And people are really flocking to the short cruises now, and Utopia of the Seas sailed yesterday, and that ship has been hugely successful in the 3 and 4 day market. Second largest cruise ship in the world, and it's sailing on a 3 and 4 day rotation. So the beauty of the cruise lines is they're all going to have their private islands, and some are going to have more than one. So they're building multiple locations, so you're not always going to the same place. If you're on a short cruise, you might go to one location one voyage, you might go to another one on another voyage. So Disney has 2 islands now. Royal has several underway. So it's really an exciting time for the cruise lines, and it's great for us as a seaport, and you know, the sweet spot for everybody are the short cruises. So, and they're full. People are really enjoying the new ships. The ships are the destination to some degree. So when the vessels are at sea, there's so much to do on the ships now that it's not like you have to go to a port destination to do any activities. The ships have them all. So it's really interesting times.
A big industry, and making some changes to account for that. Here's that live look at Port Canaveral. And one quick update for you here as we take a look toward Cape Canaveral. We have learned that the SpaceX Starlink launch has been pushed back about another 50 minutes. Last scheduled for 3:03, and now pushed back to 3:54. So something we're continuing to monitor. They've got about another half hour to work with if they have to push it back any further today. Otherwise, they'll push it to another day. We're going to take a break here on Florida Live, but we'll be right back after this. Welcome back into Florida Live. I'm Garrett Weimer. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon, live on Fox Local and on YouTube. Let's talk a little theme parks. We're halfway through the week. Who isn't looking ahead maybe to a weekend trip to the theme parks? Joining us now live via Zoom is Theron White, lead publisher of EYNTK.info, one of our theme park experts here on Fox Local. Theron, we appreciate you joining us.
Of course, always happy to join.
So we got some news today. Let's start here about the Disney annual pass. Some more changes to the down payment after it wasn't that long ago that they dropped it.
Yeah, Disney had the annual pass payment was going to be about a little over $200 for your initial down payment, and then you could pay monthly after that. They did drop it down to $99, and it is now back up to $205. Now, as of right now, they have not changed the annual pass prices. But if you want to buy that pass and start up an annual pass and pay monthly, there is going to be now a larger upfront fee. That just means that you're paying less per month. So it's not like, again, you're going to be paying more money overall, but that upfront fee has gone back up to what it originally was earlier last year.
Let's talk a little bit about those annual passes. I know it's something that may be attractive to a number of folks here in the area. My wife and I are pass holders as well. And so what should people know about some of the differences between those different ones if they're looking into it?
Yeah, there's a bunch of different options, and if you're a Florida resident, you have by far the most amount of options that you can look at. If you're a non-Florida resident, you're going to be a little bit stuck into what you can get. It's usually the most expensive pass unless you're a Disney Vacation Club member. But if you're here in Florida, you can get the cheapest version, which is what I have here. It's $469. It's just going to allow you to go in Mondays through Fridays. It has very few blockout dates other than like the really, really busy summer months and spring break. Those days you kind of want to avoid anyway. But for that one, it's going to start at $469. Now, the most expensive pass is going to be $1,549. That's the Incredipass, which is going to allow you to go in on any day. If you want to go in Christmas and fight those crowds, you can get that as well. But again, if you're a Florida resident, you can kind of go in and mix and match and kind of look at the blockout dates, what you get when it comes to discounts, because you are going to get discounts on food and merchandise and stuff like that. And you can get discounts on special events like Disney's After Hour events and other things.
No, I do not want to go on Christmas and fight those crowds. To answer your question, there you mentioned Disney After Hours. Let's talk about that because we did learn some new details about those upcoming events as well.
Yeah, if you don't know what the Disney After Hours events are, it's kind of like being able to go into one of the Disney theme parks for a VIP experience. Now, you are going to pay more money than if you just went into one of their theme parks for a regular day ticket, but there's going to be reduced capacity, tons of characters all over the place. It's usually going to be in the evening until later on in the night, so you're going to be able to enjoy not as hot of a Florida vacation, and you're going to have less people. I went recently, I was invited out to go to the Typhoon Lagoon After Hours event, and it was very, very nice. I mean, it was beautiful. I waited at most 8 minutes to go on one of their slides, and you can just walk around and grab a Mickey bar. All of those are included for free. You can go and grab a popcorn. And so that stuff was really, really nice. If you're maybe not someone that's going to go to Disney World every single day, if you don't want that annual pass, you can just go and have a VIP experience at one of these after-hour events. Disney has released some of their dates for their Epcot, their Hollywood Studios, and their Typhoon Lagoon experience, and they have said that in 2026 they're going to bring back Magic Kingdom offerings as well. I don't know this. Disney has not confirmed this yet, but I've got to assume because they're going to be opening up the new version of Test Track soon, and there's nighttime versions that are coming up soon for these after-hour events, I can assume that you will one day be able to go on to this Test Track attraction multiple times during some of these after-hour events. A lot of people went to this when the Cosmic Rewind, the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster first opened, because you could only ride once per day with the virtual queue, but if you did an after-hours event, you could go again and again and again, and for some people alone, that was worth the money.
Yeah, these are separately ticketed events. What are we kind of looking at when it comes to the cost of those tickets?
Yeah, you're going to be looking at normally a little bit over the price of what would be a normal ticket. So it does range per park and per date. I can say that the Typhoon Lagoon ones are usually going to be about $85 if you're not a Disney pass holder, $42.50 if you're going to be a kid, and then it's $70 if you are a pass holder and you want to do that experience. There are different prices when it comes to Magic Kingdom and Hollywood Studios and Epcot. And again, it's per those dates, you're going to want to check and see exactly what it's going to be, but it will be more than a standard day ticket.
Let's talk a little Universal here because this week we've gotten a couple of different announcements when it comes to new haunted houses for the upcoming Halloween Horror Night.
Yeah, the one that they just announced today is the Dolls Let's Play Dead Haunted House. We've also got, as you can see on the screen there, the Hatchet and Chains, the Demon Bounty Hunters. Both of these are going to be original storylines, so this is not based off some movie or based off something else. This is going to be made specifically for this event. Usually Universal does about 50% intellectual property and 50% original storylines. The Hatchet and Chains specifically, we have seen them before. That was in one of the 1950s themes, the movie drive-in cinema, slaughter cinema haunted houses. And so now that was loved so much inside of that haunted house, they're getting their own entire storyline. The Dolls Let's Play Dead, we have had a dollhouse before. Back in 2014, there was a haunted house. I gotta say, it was very, very creepy. Universal has given a little bit of a description for this house saying, you're about to become doll-sized and be hunted by toys that have been burnt, melted, and stitched together by a twisted little girl. There's a lot they could do with that. It definitely sounds creepy.
There's no doubt about that, but that's part of the experience, right? If you're going to Halloween Horror Nights.
Absolutely. Universal has used in the past before. They've also used like baby powder as a smell. It's very weird and it's very off-putting when you're in the house, which is exactly what they're going for. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to smell that again when we go inside of this experience.
Interesting. And still more drops to come. We only know I've lost track, but what, 4 or 5 maybe so far that have been announced?
Yeah, we've had a couple of announcements. We've had usually the intellectual properties is what came first. We know that we've had Fallout. There's a rumor that WWE is going to be announced soon in some way, in some form, but we'll have to wait for that. And of course, we've had Five Nights at Freddy's. They didn't officially say that it was a house, but we've said before, that's such a big property. It's probably going to be a house and something else, and they're waiting to announce what officially that's going to be.
All right, Theron White, the lead publisher of EYNTK.info. Always good talking with you. We appreciate you joining us here on Florida Live.
Absolutely. You guys have a great day.
All right, you too. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Welcome back into Florida Live. Live look at Kia Center, the home of the Orlando Magic, where getting ready for NBA draft night going on tonight, 8 o'clock, I believe, is when the first round begins. The Magic have the 25th pick overall. But that's not the only news we're talking about with the Orlando Magic. Today, they announced a new leadership structure where their longtime CEO, Alex Martins, is now stepping into a new role as vice chair of the Orlando Magic, and Charlie Freeman, who has been working alongside Alex Martins for a while now, is going to be taking over as president of basketball, or of business operations, I should say. Jeff Weltman is the president of basketball operations, but Charlie Freeman going to oversee those day-to-day kind of business operations. And now this afternoon, we did hear from Alex Martins and from Charlie Freeman as they talked about what these new roles mean for the future of the team.
I think our organization is in a better place today than it's ever been. Our business operation has been recognized across our league for the last several years as one of the best business operations in the NBA. And it's because of our people. Our staff is tremendous. I would put our staff up against any professional sports team staff in the business. They've been recognized in that way. We've created a culture for them that they're engaged, they're motivated. We've been recognized now by the Sports Business Journal 2 years in a row as one of the best places to work in sports. And that goes beyond, being recognized locally by the Orlando Sentinel and the Orlando Business Journal for years, right, as a best place to work. So we've worked hard at that. So the business side of our business, is thriving, and our staff is tremendous. The basketball side of our business now is on an upward trajectory where we feel as good as we felt about this team, going back to the last time we went to the NBA Finals in 2009. And we have a team that is ready to compete, to compete for Eastern Conference championships and hopefully eventually for an NBA championship. So I feel like in all of my tenure as CEO, there's never been a better time, on the basketball side. And I feel incredibly confident that we're going to do some great things here in the next few years. And then community relations-wise, we've worked hard at that since Rich DeVos purchased this team. I think you remember when he purchased the team, he said, I'm not the owner of this team, I'm the caretaker of this team for the community. And he instilled that in us from the very beginning. And we've taken that seriously. And, we've worked hard to try and enrich our community in so many different ways. Our staff just passed recently the 100,000-hour mark of volunteering their own time at different organizations, nonprofits, throughout the community and other community activities. You know that the Orlando Magic Youth Foundation has now raised and distributed over $30 million to the local community, to local at-risk children's organizations. And then there's the other things that we play a role in. We have over 70 of our leaders that sit on different community boards, voluntarily in trying to help enrich our community. And that's just the beginning. And so from a community relations standpoint, I'd like to think that, we're a pillar of the community. We've worked hard on that. And I know we're going to continue to work hard on that because that's who the DeVos family is, and that's the legacy of Rich and Helen DeVos.
Alex, with this new role of yours, is it a come to work every day role? Is this semi-retirement for you? Where do you stand on getting out of the building a little bit?
I think there'll be a little bit more flexibility. I certainly will not be here every day, but I will be here a lot. But I think it gives me a lot more flexibility to do some other things that I'd like to do, professionally and personally. And we'll pursue some other things, that fit within the time frame that I have. But, I foresee that I'll be in the building, 50% of the time, call it. I'm going to be here to advise, to mentor, certainly, to advise Dan DeVos, our chairman, and the board on everything that's happening, and most particularly be here for Charlie and Jeff to lean on, when they need an ear or they need an opinion or they need advice or experience, what have you. So I'll be here when they need me to be here. And I look forward to that. And I look forward to the fact that, I'll continue to serve on the NBA's Board of Governors as well.
I'm humbled and honored to be standing here today. It's people like the DeVos family and Alex that have taken me under their wing and showed me the ropes and put trust and belief in me. And it's just it's a blessing to be able to be here. And again, having grown up in this organization, I'm just very fortunate.
Why do you feel like you're ready for this?
Well, again, had the good fortune of starting as an intern back in 1996 and grew up in all aspects of the organization. Got to spend a lot of time with Alex building and overseeing the design and construction of Kia Center, and then have been in the business operations role for the last 15 years. And again, every step of the way, he's been there, the family's been there, they've supported me, and I've been able to learn and watch and grow. And so, again, feel like that's a great opportunity to get me ready for this position.
What do you think the future, what do you think the potential for growth,
Well,
of this franchise is?
It's fantastic. What a great time to be a fan of the Orlando Magic, to work for the Orlando Magic. What we're doing on the court, what we're doing off the court, what we're trying to do across the street with our development. You can see this beautiful facility here. We're just so blessed. And as I always said, the DeVos family has always invested in our staff. They've always invested in our facilities. They've invested in this community, as you all know, as great community partners, and obviously in our business and in our basketball team. And, I can't wait. And I'm so fired up and excited about the future and energized.
What has the culture meant to you? The culture that's been built, enhanced under Alex, and how do you continue that?
Well, again, Alex has built an incredible culture. My job is just to continue that along, and we have great people, as Alex said. We're rooted. Our staff is our most important asset, and our people, and we treat our people the right way. We treat people like family, and that culture is what it's been since I've been here. That's why I've stayed here for 30 plus years, and again, just hope I can continue that legacy.
You mentioned the development across the street. How does this all impact that, and where do things stand with that?
Again, I think from the development across the street, we're still working with our development partners, and we're hoping to break ground sometime this, in the fourth quarter. And we think it's going to be great for downtown and for what's to come.
you mentioned having worked alongside Alex for so many years, just seeing his impact and his leadership role in the organization for this team, for this community. What do you feel is the biggest thing that you've learned or seen from him as you now kind of step into his shoes partially?
Great question. I mean, again, Alex, as you all know, he's an example of leadership in this community, for this organization. He has built this organization into what it is today. We are, as Alex mentioned, we're recognized as one of the best run sports teams in the country. And we're so lucky to have him and had him at that leadership position. Again, as he said, he's not going anywhere. I can't wait to continue to lean on him and work with Generation 3 and Ryan DeVos and Cole DeVos in their new roles. And we're just really excited to get going and, again, have him in the corner. And, again, as he said, he may not be here every day, but I know he's just a phone call away.
The changes on the business side. We'll see what happens on the basketball side tonight as we watch the NBA draft. Crossing my fingers for Walter Clayton Jr. We will see what happens.